Anyway, this is Mark Taylor-Canfield in Seattle, bringing you my live rock and roll journalism, and I hope you all enjoy it. Please subscribe to my channel, hit that like button down there and the notification button when you subscribe so you can get a notice when I do these videos. I've been doing a lot of material lately, and I'll probably continue to do these short videos like this, the MTC report. I'm also doing reports for the Thom Hartmann Show, so you might have caught me on his program, which goes around the world, I guess. You know, and it's got quite a wide broadcast area on television and radio, and the Jeff Santa Show, of course, every Friday. He has such great guests throughout the week. I keep calling it the best talk show in the United States, and I really believe that. He has the best, most educated, intelligent guests you're going to find anywhere in the media. And Jeff has been in politics and journalism for many years, so he has a great contact list. And if he can call former governors on to his program, and political consultants, and people who really do have the inside story on what's going on in politics in the United States. So I hope you check it out. Jeff Santos Show. You can watch it at Twitch TV. You can watch it on YouTube Live and archived. And also just go to his website, The Jeff Santos Show, on the Revolution Radio Network. This is Mark Taylor-Canfield in Seattle, Executive Director for Democracy Watch News. So also check out democracywatchnews.org, and you'll notice that we're totally revamping our entire website, writing a whole new business plan, and trying to recreate our own organization like a phoenix out of the ashes. Hey, this is Mark Taylor-Canfield with my tiny little guitar. Check that out. It's really tiny. And the light shines through it too, because it's made out of some kind of acrylic, I guess. It's actually my marionette's guitar. So, hey everybody, this is Spookarina. We performed at the Nectar in Seattle not too long ago, and also for Trolloween, the Fremont Arts Council celebration. She just wanted to say hi. She's such a rock star. You can check her out in my YouTube videos. This is Spookarina, and her band's called Spooky and the Spookarinas. So that was actually her guitar that I was playing. Thanks, Spooky. I appreciate it. So I just wanted to talk to you all today a little bit about not music, so I guess I don't need my electric guitar prop, but I wanted to talk to you a little bit about civics and history and the state of democracy in the United States. I am Executive Director for Democracy Watch News, which is a nonprofit news organization with correspondents around the world who report on movements for democracy, and also we report on some of the threats to democracy around the world. And in the United States, of course, we've talked about this, about the gerrymandering that goes on, where politicians try to create political districts that keep certain political parties in power. You also have vote suppression in places like Georgia, where people like the Governor Kemp actually just gets people purged from the polls by appointing these deputies to basically go out and do that. And if you want to find out more information about that, check out my friend Greg Palast. Greg Palast is a great investigative news journalist. He's written for Rolling Stone. He's worked for BBC and The Guardian. And right now he's focusing on what's happening in Georgia. And he has a documentary out. It's called Vigilante. And it's about people who try to suppress votes in places like Georgia. We also have this huge amount of money that's being poured into the political campaigns from billionaires who want to control the election and manipulate you into voting for a candidate of their choice. So unfortunately, after the Supreme Court decision on Citizens United, money is equated as free speech in the United States. So the more money you have, the more free speech you get, unfortunately. But it is possible for local jurisdictions to pass campaign finance laws. And that's something that I really want to talk more about with Jeff on his show, The Jeff Santos Show. I'm his guest every Friday at 2:30 p.m. Today I came on after Alan Minsky and Professor Harvey Kaye talking about the Economic Bill of Rights, which is based on a lot of what FDR had to say about the future of the United States and democracy. So here we go. We're after the midterm elections 2022. There were folks in Washington State who were very worried about the race between Patty Murray and Tiffany Smiley. Tiffany Smiley was a MAGA-backed pro-Trump candidate who had questioned the results of the 2020 elections. So she was considered kind of far right and got a lot of support from folks in Eastern Washington who tend to be on the right and tend to be, there's kind of a cowboy culture there, and also, just popular to support Republicans on the east side of Washington State. A lot of people don't know that, but it's actually the west side of the state, or what what they might call the West Coast establishment, or the Western Washington establishment. Metropolitan areas like Seattle and Tacoma, Olympia, the state capital, Bellingham, Everett, they all lie on Puget Sound, so on the west side of the state. So that's where our governor comes from. That's where a lot of the Democrats have a stronghold. So the results of the 2022 midterm elections in Washington State is that the Democrats will probably, and I'm not, this is not for sure, only 70% of the votes counted, and in some places they're having problems counting all the votes quickly because there were 10,000 people who registered on election day, which was really cool to see that. And I think, those kinds of election laws, Washington State, I think, it serves as a good model. At least Martin Luther King Jr. County, where I live, is a model. There is early voting, so you get your ballots sent to you in the mail on October 21st or 22nd, and then they also open up drop boxes on that day. So from late October until November, or from October 21st until November 8th, you can cast your ballot either by mail or by dropping them off in these designated drop boxes. And the drop boxes are highly secure, but they are outdoors, and they are available 24/7 for you to drop off your votes. And I'm sure they're surveilled and all that by the Elections Commission to make sure people don't tamper with them, but they are available 24/7 up until 8 p.m. on election day. So there's no excuse not to vote in Washington State in these areas, in these jurisdictions, because you get your ballot mailed to you. You don't even have to leave your apartment or home. You just drop it off in the mailbox or in the post office, or you take it to a drop box. So I like taking them to the drop box. I have a picture of me on the King County Elections Commission Twitter site, I think it is, because they asked us to do selfies of us, of ourselves voting, and on election day. So I did that, and so there I am putting in my ballot. That way, I don't have to worry about anything happening by the time I drop it off in a postal box until it gets to King County elections. So what is the other things that have happened? Patty Murray actually came out with 57% of the vote, which surprised people, because at one point she was polling at 49, and Tiffany Smiley at 41 with 10% undecided, according to the Seattle Times and KING TV News poll just before the election. So apparently the undecideds went for Patty Murray. And one big reason for that might be the ad campaign that the Democrats adopted towards the last part of that election there, towards the last phase there. In the beginning, some of their election ads, from my humble opinion, seemed a little bit confusing and maybe misdirected or not well focused. I was confused about what their message actually was, but later in the election, they started using a more Bernie Sanders style approach, which he had been recommending, and through his own auspices, his own Twitter and Instagram sites and stuff, accounts, he was saying, these are the issues: Medicare, Social Security, oligarchy, rich people trying to control elections. And the Washington State Democrats actually adopted that, or at least their friends in the Democratic Party who funded these PACs that, put these ads together, really did take on that message, and it seemed to be much more effective. I mean, it made sense. They want to. The claim was that Republicans would like to take away your Social Security and privatize it. They would like to reduce or cut Medicaid completely. And a lot of retired and elderly people, of course, would be against that, of course. But also people who have been, putting money into the system, into the Social Security system through the FICA tax all their life. That actually, is something they've contributed to. It's insurance, it's Social Security insurance, folks. So we buy it, Anyway, that was, FDR's idea about, that was his vision of what, Social Security would be. Social Security was talked about in many other countries, including in Spain and Italy and other places where people understand that you need some kind of social network and net to catch people from falling through the cracks who, for one reason or another, are not able to compete financially. So Patty Murray won. the undecideds became decided and decided to go for Patty Murray. They also, in that ad campaign and in Patty Murray's speech here in Seattle, which I also covered the visit of Vice President Kamala Harris and Senator Elizabeth Warren to Seattle and their speeches. Governor Inslee also was speaking at campaign rallies for Patty Murray, especially one at the Seattle Center that I covered where Pramila Jayapal was also speaking. And these were the heavy hitters, so the Democrats brought out their heavy hitters. If this was the World Series, it was like the ninth inning, and they put in their best hitters. So everyone was worried in the Democratic Party that Tiffany Smiley might actually be able to pull that off. She wasn't. As I said, Patty Murray won with 57% of the vote. It looks like the Washington State Legislature will stay mostly majority Democrats, but a thin majority in both houses, the House of Representatives and the Senate in Washington State. But the state and the state legislature are still kind of split. There's a high degree of polarity even in a blue state like Washington, which, the rest of the corporate media is not going to explain to you. They're just going to say it's a blue state. They reelected Patty Murray and move on to, Pennsylvania with John Fetterman or something. But actually, Washington State does have a lot of conservatives here who are not very happy with being represented by progressive Democrats, or so-called progressive Democrats. Some of them call themselves progressive and don't turn out to be so progressive. But Pramila Jayapal won with about 80% of the vote or something. So, she does not have a viable opponent. And she inherited that seat from Jim McDermott, who was in the U.S. Congress in the House of Representatives for 14 terms. So forever, basically, in terms of political life. And he also won with 80% of the vote much of the time. That district is Seattle, basically. And Seattle is a very liberal city, along with San Francisco. Kim Schreier won her re-election to the U.S. Congress. Right now, they're still counting the votes, and some states like Georgia are actually going to have a runoff. Arizona, they're still counting the votes. A lot of the political pundits were worried about this thing they call the red wave, which never transpired, which never manifested itself, but the votes are not all counted, and we don't know exactly what the state of the United States Congress will be, and who will actually be in majority in both houses. So it's very close either way. So once again, the polarization continues in the United States. There is no landslide victories for one side or the other, although the Democrats are calling this a victory, and it does seem like the Republicans are a little bit disappointed that a lot of their, especially right-wing and MAGA-supported Trump-style candidates did not get elected. There were actually people in the United States, including my friend Jeff Santos on his national program, saying that, this could become a fascist state if we're not careful. And so people were really worried about some of those MAGA candidates who actually didn't even acknowledge the official results of the 2020 election, and were very, soft on criticizing insurrectionists and things like that. So it was worrying a lot of people, and it still should worry people when the country is so divided and people are so angry about politics. But we should probably all remember that we're all human beings and we're all in this together, like it or not. And so we got to learn to get along, and we got to learn to cooperate too. I think cooperative efforts are much more successful and effective than divisive efforts. And that seems to be what happens in the United States. It's, good cop, bad cop. One side blames the other for everything. And that's just way too simple. Politics is not that simple. There are many gray areas, and there's much more complicated matter to be discussed in the United States. It doesn't get discussed because all that the corporate media cares about is the horse race. Who won? By how many votes? How much money did they get to run their, to put into their campaign? What does this mean in terms of Washington D.C.? So in the meantime, I'm doing a lot of music, and I have some music videos that we're putting together, some live performances that I had filmed and recorded. So a lot of video editing, and also I've been trying to document some of the cultural aspects of Seattle, which make it such an interesting place. So I've been taking my camera around to a lot of art events, art gallery openings, art shows, rock clubs, places where people hang out and enjoy the night life and culture of Seattle, because there is a lot of it if you know where to look for it, and there are some really great and talented people out there performing every night in the city of Seattle, in the Emerald City as we call it. And as I always say, the Emerald City is also from The Wizard of Oz. Pay no attention to the men behind the curtains. Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, Schultz from Starbucks. Oh wait, did I say that? This is Mark Taylor-Canfield. Thanks for checking out the MTC report. I hope you're all doing well. Peace out.